Great. Thanks, Bill. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for jumping on. Really excited with today's announcement for our 2025 media rights partnerships for Cougar football and really the Pac-12. So not only are we excited, I think, with the partners and kind of the wide-reaching breadth of exposure and everything the partnerships bring. But to be honest, the fact that all of our home game times have been set for the most part, other than maybe a half an hour swing on that Apple Cup game, it's really exciting, I think, for people to plan. And so really looking forward to this fall and excited for today's announcement.
All right, we'll take your questions now. Jamie, go ahead.
Hi, Ann. Thanks for doing this. Looking at kind of the next few weeks or even next couple of months, the Wazoo budget's obviously being pinned down now for the fiscal year starting on July 1st. Is the plan to be holding the $74 million departmental total in the current fiscal year, or perhaps moving back towards the $85 million of 2 years ago?
Yeah, Jamie, thanks for the question. We're in the middle of our budget process right now. So the university is doing budget hearings, and we're in the process of working through all of that right now. So probably a little early for me to say where we'll land, but we're certainly looking not only, as we've been doing, is really how we can maximize the current, resources we have available, but obviously continue to move forward and to grow. So that's an ongoing conversation right now that hopefully, to your point, in the coming weeks, we'll have more info on.
And just kind of shifting to the news of today, how much money will Wazoo and OSU see from this 2025 media rights deal?
Yeah, the all of the agreements and the revenue goes through the Pac-12 conference, so that's not a number that will be released. It will all flow through the conference, so that's going to stay in the vault. So I can't answer that one. Sorry. As I'm sure what I would say too is I'm sure you can appreciate a lot of these are ongoing negotiations, not only now that the fall of 25 is set, but obviously we have kind of the springboard to 26 and beyond when the Pac-12 conference, is a full conference moving forward. And so a lot of that are really active, dynamic conversations right now. So being kept pretty quiet.
Next up, Greg Woods. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, Ian, how are you?
Great, Greg, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm curious, kind of like you just mentioned about the full, rebuilt Pac-12. Do you have any like ballpark ETA on like when that media rights deal might be announced?
I don't. But I will say, we just actually got back from Pac-12 meetings late last night, and I think have had really good conversations and updates. The Pac-12 and Octagon, our media rights, kind of consulting partner, have continued to really work hard to build a great package going forward for the Pac-12. And so still working on that piece relative to finalizing anything and getting ready to announce anything. But I think today was an important, step in that certainly going forward because, fall 25 is coming before fall 26, obviously. So needed to get that part settled and all ready to go before the longer term rights can be finalized. But, I think what I would say is although I don't know an actual timeline, I'm not concerned about it because we really have had a lot of great progress and a ton of interest and excitement around the Pac-12 and a lot of, really exciting partners that would like to be involved. So I think that's encouraging. And now it's just a matter of, finalizing everything when the time is right.
Yeah. And then in terms of this football season, a lot of later kickoffs similar to last year. Was that like a conscious effort that you guys made to get those later kickoffs, or what's kind of your read on how that kind of impacts WSU?
Yeah, no, I would say, I mean, as I look at it, I think we have as many afternoon as we do evening. So I think we're pretty split, 3-3, with our home games. And so I'm excited about that because I think, we do have people that, love the more afternoon kickoffs. We do have folks that like the evening kickoffs relative to, maybe traveling and being able to come in day of or, coming in the night before and leaving after the game, depending on what the kickoff time is. And so I think it provides us a really good opportunity to provide a little something for everyone. And that the fact that half are afternoons and half are evenings, I honestly am really excited about. I also think it's going to give us a good opportunity. I mean, we're really working hard on kind of all of our game day experience elements. I know we have some work to do on that and, have gotten a lot of great feedback from our fans and other folks that have been at the games. and the community of Pullman, and really how we can be better partners, I think, with them and with campus and all kind of working together. I think football game days, although, it may be about a game, at Giesa Field, it really is an entire community event. And so really looking at how we can maximize that. I think the different game times will give us a chance, to kind of have a little something for everybody, either the day prior or the morning of, or whatever it might be. So I'm genuinely excited about it and thinks it gives us a good opportunity.
Okay, next up, Austin Getz. Go ahead, Austin.
Hi, Ann. Good to talk to you. Just wanted to get your thoughts on the importance of national television with the CW for, the majority of the home games, but also having the Apple Cup on CBS, which should draw a pretty large number, you would imagine.
Yeah. Hey, Austin, good to talk with you as well. I'm not sure there's a way I could answer that to emphasize enough how important that is. And because I think right now, really, as we're looking to keep, not only the Washington State University brand, but also the Pac-12 brand, we're very national, very strong. The exposure that we will have, it was tremendous this past season. And we're really excited to continue that partnership, with the CW. And then also, to your point, bringing CBS Sports in the fold as well, at least for the Cougar games, and then ESPN for the Beaver games, a couple Beaver games. So I think it's tremendously important. I mean, we got so much good feedback of people being able to see the games all across the country. And so I'm really excited about it. I think it's extremely important as we continue to navigate this landscape right now.
And then for the road games, I know that those, certain conferences have their own, media rights deals and whatnot. What's the importance of getting some exposure on some other networks too? You have the lion's share on the CW, and also you were talking about ESPN, but some of the other networks as well, and kind of try and strengthen your national brand.
Yeah, I mean, I think, granted, I'll admit I'm biased, but the more people that can see the Cougs home or away is a good thing. And so I will be curious to see, as some of those, game times and networks unfold. But I think, yeah, everywhere we can spread, kind of the Cougar logo, and expose people to our, amazing team and fans and alums and, everything else, I think the better. So whatever can happen, I'm, excited for.
Next up, Andrew Quinn. Andrew, go ahead.
Hi, Ann. I was just wondering, you touched on it a little bit, but the partnership with the CW last year, obviously, I think the San Jose State game was like the most watched event ever on the CW. How happy or pleased were you with that partnership last year to make you want to continue this year? And also, do you have any insight on when CBS kind of came to the table for those two games as well?
Oh boy, I would say, back to your first question, the CW network partnership, I think it was a tremendous partnership for all of us. I think that the CW really enjoyed the partnership, and certainly, as you alluded to, ratings. I mean, I think that, the Pac-12 and/or Washington State specifically contributed to a lot of their most watched college football games last year, which, is always a great thing, not only for the school, but also for the media partner. And I think they were able to do kind of some fun different things as they're leaning into the college football space a little more, and, just kind of some of the broadcast team they brought and everything else. I could not have been, I think, more pleased with that partnership, and to be honest, I think they were as well, and excited certainly to continue, again this fall, in the fall of 2025. So all good there. I think it was a really beneficial partnership and worked out really well. And if I honestly don't know exactly the timing of when some of the other partnerships came up. We were, really supportive of Octagon and the Pac-12's work on that. And, I think just tried to give them some space. So I unfortunately probably can't give you a good answer on that part. I'm not sure.
And I know you mentioned before about some of the upgrades you hope to have at Giesa Field coming in the fall. Could you give a quick update on where those stand and just kind of what you're hoping to do come the fall?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the in-stadium fan amenities, I'll say, we're really trying to, listen to what people would, hope to see when they go to a Cougar football game. And so whether that's, food or other offerings, or, a lot of it is, even getting another year under our belt with the new concessionaire. I mean, the Aramark would be the first one to admit that, as would we, that there were some, bumps in the road on that. And really, I think making it an easy, seamless, enjoyable experience, should be kind of a baseline expectation. And that's something we need to do a better job of. And I think we're also looking at some things that I think we're just a little premature in announcing, but just, whether it be some other activities and things going on, or listening to the challenges on lodging or some other things, we're trying to really brainstorm and pick away at a few things. And so, a lot of those are probably just a little bit farther down the road as far as the next couple weeks relative to any announcement. But I think it's going to be wide reaching. I really do, because I think we need to make it, easier and enjoyable for people to come to the games.
All right, as a reminder, if you have a question, please raise your hand and we will call on you. Next up, John Wilner.
Hey, Ann, thanks for doing this. I was wondering if you could connect the dots between what you and the conference office and Oregon State are thinking now to what college football might be like beyond the next media deal into the 2030s. There's a lot of obviously discussion about what might happen, and I gather your strategy has to kind of have some connective tissue, right?
I think what I would say is I think we're using a lot of the same priorities and parameters and things that we're placing importance on when we looked, this past year, when we're looking at this upcoming year. But certainly, I think it's hard to build a foundation if you keep, moving those pieces, so to speak, or moving what's important. So I think it is fair to say that just generally, as we look at, what's a priority for our two athletic programs, for the Pac-12 conference, and really, I mean, joining with people, whether it be members or media partners that are really excited, I think, about the possibilities. I think right now in college athletics, it's really easy to get sucked into everything that's, in turmoil and everything that's changing, but there really are a lot of things we can still lean into, I think, as our own core, values and priorities, and just to not get distracted from that. And that may be, too big picture philosophical and, than what maybe you're asking me about. But I just think right now, the more we remember everything that, has been great in our history, but remembering that's history and we need to look forward, I think the better off we'll be. But I think really people wanting to work together right now and being aligned in their vision is extremely important. Honestly.
Is it possible to have a strategy right now, given how quickly things are changing?
I think it is, but I think it's just the pieces that you may have available or the things you need to adapt to are what are changing. So I think as we look at, we know as a department, we've got to lean into revenue generation. Things are changing there, whether it be at the conference or anywhere else, with all the things we can now spend money on relative to NIL, revenue sharing, et cetera. So I think, focusing on revenue generation, but also remembering at the end of the day, we're recruiting student athletes to come to Washington State University to not only get an education, but also a great student athlete experience. And I think as much as some of the other financial pieces are focused on, it's important for us to not lose sight of that and remember that still matters. It still matters that you bring people here, to enjoy everything that's great in our case about Washington State University. But I think if we keep that kind of at our core, as maybe simplistic as that sounds, it allows us more nimble to adapt to then the changes. Because college athletics has always changed. I mean, it may be unprecedented right now in the things we're going through and how we need to adapt. But at the end of the day, we need to remember, we still are college athletics that recruit students to a campus and provide great entertainment and a great life experience. So I think it's important to keep that in mind.
Thanks.
As a reminder, if you have any questions for Ann, please raise your hand. We'll call on you. Greg Woods, go ahead.
Hey, and I know you said any announcements in terms of the game day experience would have to wait a few weeks, but you did use the term lodging with some of that. Did you mean in Pullman, or I'm curious if you could kind of clarify that at all?
I'm gonna have to wait and see. So
Okay.
we're trying to be as creative as we can. And one thing I will say is that while we may have a finite number of hotels, we do have a fair amount of land. So that's as much as a hint as I'll give you. So
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Jamie, go ahead.
Just a bit of a follow-up to the second question I asked a few minutes ago. Yeah, you said you couldn't give the exact details of the financial payout and so on. Is it something similar to what last season's TV deal was with the CW and Fox?
That's going to fall in that same boat. That I'm so sorry, but I really can't. I can't answer it or get into it. So it's not my news to share.
And then the three networks that were obviously announced as partners in this upcoming season, are they also in the competitive mix for the next year 5-year deal that'll come in 2026 with the Pac-12?
I think there are a lot of potential partners that are in the mix for that. So I would be, I guess reluctant. And again, a lot of it is still being worked out with Octagon and the Pac-12. So I think right now we're solely focused on 2025. 26 and beyond is still a work in progress, and that's probably to the extent that it'd be reasonable for me to comment on right now.